Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Mark Sait. Welcome to this afternoon's workshop. I'm the MD of a company called Save Money, Cut Carbon. If you haven't got a clue what we do, then our marketing department's history. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about some of our experiences. Somebody said to me, actually, when you do one of these presentations, you actually do 3 presentations. The first one's the one that you rehearse and practice. And the third one is the one you wish you'd delivered. So I'm going to try and do some live video. I'm going to try and do some live demonstrations. I'm going to try and link out to the internet. So the chances of it all going smoothly are quite remote, but please bear with me. Our business really was started 2 or 3 years ago, and our original thinking really was around a piece of research. So we went out to lots of organisations and said, you've got your sustainability champions, you've got your green champions, you've got your committees, but what's stopping you actually moving forward and doing things, deploying very simple products in some cases into your buildings to help you reduce your water and energy bills. And I thought I'd start off by sharing some of those bits of feedback with you. So it was all about what are the barriers. And if you think, we went out and spoke to owners, we spoke to general managers of hotels, we spoke to facilities companies and all those sort of things. And this is some of the stuff that came back. So the first one really was, we don't have the time or the resource. So that was one of the barriers. I'm the green champion. I've got massive amount of buildings and so on and so forth. Where do I start? The second one was, I'm not sure how to work out the savings and ROI. So basically, how do you calculate those savings? It was moving really, from our experience, from a maintenance department decision to a finance decision. If you're going to spend $500,000 of capex in your hotel or your university or your property, that ends up ultimately being an FD decision, really. And it was there was a lot of reticence, if you like, on how they calculate that. I always remember one guy said, you know, I was a painter, and now you're asking me to work out 5-year NPV cash flows and carbon footprint. You know, a really big change of what was being asked of the individuals that had the responsibility. I don't trust the claims of the savings was another big barrier. You know, people come in and tell me it's going to save me this, it's going to save me that, but you know, what do I do? And if I get it wrong, my job depends on it. Too many suppliers and don't know where to start. So that was another really interesting one. You know, do you know how many LED companies have rung me this week? So that was a lot of nodding heads in here. So obviously you've had those calls. That was another thing that was an interesting barrier. This was a fascinating one. I always put this one up. I was only appointed the green champion as no one else wanted to do it, and I'm a cook. But that was quite commonplace in some of the buildings we sat to, both hotels, one was schools and so on and so forth. Someone needed to be the green champion, last person into the meeting, that you were it. So that was an interesting one. I don't know how to fit it. So fitting was a really big challenge. You know, we had one LED project that we came across last year where big organisations said, oh, we'll do LEDs, spent £500,000 on LEDs. 6 months later, they're still in the box in the warehouse because nobody thought how to put them in, emergency lighting, how do you do them? Nobody did looking at the ceilings and all that sort of stuff. And I always kind of laugh and joke, but it doesn't save you much if it's left in the box. I don't want to be first. Really interesting one. So that was one that came up a lot. Well, I think I'll just wait to see what everyone else does, and then I'll follow suit. My owner, this was a property owner, my FD are not interested. You know, if only they would understand the savings that they could make. That was a big thing. You know, people who were experts in the space had joined the business. They were leading sustainability groups, and basically they could see the savings, but they just could not get the airtime of the senior people to make a decision. I'm the landlord, so I don't pay the bills, so I don't care. That's changing at the moment. You will see legislation changes if you have a commercial building with EPC. I think under an E 2018, you're not going to be able to let it. We're owned by property owner groups. You'd be amazed how many of them now are really interested in this sort of stuff. I think if you read Estates Gazette, they're estimating 28 billion needs to be spent on the commercial UK real estate to get it up to grade. So either the government's going to have to change its plans. They don't even think you could spend it fast enough now. So there is movement now in legislation terms that are making landlords and people that own the buildings, PFI and all that sort of stuff, having to really think about where they go. And this was one I really liked. This was an NHS site where we spoke to the FM company, and they said, do you know how much money we make changing light bulbs? In this case, they charge £55 to change a light bulb. You know, if we put LED in, this would kill us. Which I thought was an interesting thing. So our business was really premised on how can we start something to remove all of those barriers. And those that have come out to the stand, you'll see kind of our journey really is around how do I measure and understand what I'm using and where that's going in my building. How do I calculate and do the models, and how do I get that accredited? So it's our partnership with the Carbon Trust. How do I then find all of the products in one place from the major brands? How do I get it installed? So our installation team, our CSL marketing team's looking at marketing. How do I get the best bang in awareness out of the technology that I've spent? And then also our online business. How do I continue that work effectively? Because what you don't want is you do a great capital project, putting LED lights in or water changes, whatever, and then slowly people start going back off the Screwfix and B&Q and buying whatever they buy, because that undermines all of the work that you've done. And that's where we came in. So our business is really split into three bits, and this is the kind of last slide telling you a little bit about us. Our online business is a kind of go-to place really for energy and water reduction. So whether you want to buy one little tapperator or you want to buy from the shop, you can go directly there. Every single product has its own savings calculators and all the installation stuff that you need. Our field services group, is that me? Our field services group basically installs stuff. So when I'm talking to you a little while about LED, we do supply LED, but we also installed 6,500 LED tubes last quarter. We installed 5,500 LED fittings in February. And if you go and speak to one of those guys, they'll tell you the difference between a good LED tube and a bad LED tube and show you the bruises and the skin missing off their knuckles where they've installed it. And then we do a lot around engagement. Our CSM marketing group does kind of all the engagement. And I'm going to try now, first big trick, to jump to a little very quick website, basically, video that just tells you a little bit more about what we are, because it will do it a lot quicker than I can, subject to the mouse doing what it's meant to be doing. Let's see if this works. And have we got sound as well? No.
Everyone.
Oh, there you go.
Companies, consumers, and organisations to take control of spiralling energy and water bills. Utility prices have doubled in the past 10 years and will double again over the next decade. So now is the time to cut consumption, cut bills, and cut carbon footprint. And we make it easy for you. We have selected the best products to reduce energy and water usage in the home and at work, and they're all available on SaveMoneyCutCarbon.com. There's something for everyone who wants to reduce their bills, from basic low-cost ways to cut your water consumption in half, to LED lighting and smart building controls, which will pay for themselves and go on cutting your bills year after year. Save Money Cut Carbon is accredited by the Carbon Trust and Green Tourism, and has helped businesses save millions of pounds and households to slash utility bills with simple, effective, sustainable products. Whether you are a company or a single household, you can start your cost-saving journey on our website. It offers dynamic calculators for every product, so you can work out exactly how much you can save. For larger organisations, our UK-wide field services group offers the complete solution, from surveys to planning, installation and monitoring. That's why thousands of households and major organisations choose us as their energy efficiency partner.
Right, so I'll leave it there. That gives you a bit of a feel about what we do as an organisation. So now I'm going to jump onto a little bit more about what we've kind of learned in some of the projects that we've worked on. So I call them my range of no-brainers, and if I can step away from this without anything going too wrong. My first no-brainer really is these little things. So these little things, some of you will have seen, they're called tapperators. And basically they fit into a normal tap. So if you think about taps in ladies and gents, if you think about hotel bedrooms on a big thing, and we screw out the existing fitting and screw this in, and it will mix air into the water, but gives a nice kind of stream. So if you've stayed in any of the major hotels in the UK, we look after the Marriotts and the Radissons and the Travelodges, you will have used one of these, hopefully, but probably never knowing. So they're about anywhere between £3 and £4 each, really easy to fit, you just kind of screw them in. But I thought if I can jump out to the site and show you a little bit about what that looks like. Let's go here, so it's the tapperator site. I'm going to scroll down, let's pick a normal one like this. So you would have seen on here, products on the calculator. So typically a tap is running at 12 litres, and I'll talk a little bit more about this crazy bag that hopefully everyone leaves can take one of these with them. This is a very simple thing. Basically, you put your tap or your shower in here, count to 5 seconds, and it will tell you what the flow rate is in litres per minute. If you then come across to this type of thing and you put the flow rate into there, let's take 4 minutes worth of tap time a day, which is quite low. And if you think about a ladies or gents or student accommodation or a school or something, assuming everybody's washing their hands like they should be in a school. And let's say we had, in a hotel environment, we might have 100 taps. In a university, you might have more. I'm sure in a school, you might have less. But you can see there immediately, just by fitting that little thing into the taps, you're looking at maybe a £4,500 saving in water. So these little things, everyone goes, oh yeah, I've seen those, I know about those. But actually, we fit these all over the place. We sell thousands of them a month. They're dead easy to fit at home in your kitchen tap, but a great starting point. So often when I sit with people and they go, I don't have the budget to do anything, I always wave this around and do that. And normally, I can't do it here because they've got very flashy taps. But normally I do this whenever I come to one of these events and speak. I whiz off to the gents, check the flow rate. That's the tap, not my flow rate. And then I fit one of these in one of the taps, and then I challenge everyone to go and see whether they can tell the difference. One of our major hotel chains actually wrote a letter of complaint to us saying they'd given us an order for these and we hadn't fitted them, but we had, they just couldn't tell the difference. And we'd gone from 12 to 5 litres a minute. And the guys that work for me know I'm quite passionate about water. Everyone's big on LED, but I still find it amazing in this country. If you went out to many countries and said, we wash our cars and water our flowers and we flush our toilets with drinking water. So, we're doing some big projects with these little things, and we changed them slightly to put this rubber bottom on them. So it's a bit like you find on the showers that you can, like, when you rub the nodules, the scale comes off. But that's made a big difference to the hotel industry because housekeeping wipe and brush the things every day, and it just keeps the scale off, which needs a nice flow. Traditionally, where you put these in, you may have seen them in hospitals many years ago. We got that kind of spray where half the nozzles were blocked off and it kind of sprayed that way and that way. But the technology's come on quite a lot. And I would say my kind of no-brainer number one for you to take away, and there's a few on our stand, and definitely if you're interested, take one of these bags away and measure your flow rate. You should definitely look at that. Right, let's get back to the next slide. Oh, it's all disappeared now. Hang on a minute. So here's my first problem. Where's the PowerPoint disappeared to? There we go. So that's my first one. My next one is taking the same technology up a little bit. So we did a lot of work with Hansgrohe in the UK. So Hansgrohe is a German manufacturer, about 900 million. They make lots of funky showers. And we went to them and they made this one, which you may have seen. It's kind of like an eco shower head. And we said to them, really, really great, but the Savoy is not going to have this in their suite at £3,000 a night. Could you take the technology and put it into big rain heads and more, interesting looking shower heads and fixed showers? And they said, well, we could. We've never been asked to, but we could. So we worked with them basically to take what they call this aerated technology, this called rain dance technology, eco-smart technology, and we took it right across the ranges. These are great manufactured products for us. They've all got 5-year warranties, so they don't end up in landfill. And then we went back out to our hotel customers and our school customers and our NHS customers, and we got the magic bag out again, and we did exactly the same exercise for showers. So we went and looked at the flow rate in showers, and we then took this data and we put it into the measurement things, and we do it on a slightly bigger scale for big capital projects. And again, if I look at that little shower head as an example, let's go here for the website. Look at the savings calculator. And I was with a university the other day, and I said, normally a shower head would be running at about 18 litres, although I have a few hotels that run at 30 plus. But normally about 18 litres. And why do we know that? Well, we've kind of deployed this in every Radisson in the UK, every Park Inn, every McDonald's hotels, every Marriott hotel. So pretty much all the hotels, we've got quite a lot of experience. And I said to him, fundamentally, if you've got, 100 rooms in your hotel and showers is 6 minutes a day, you've got a £10,000 saving there. Okay, and we've done these projects time and time again, payback under a year. Everyone goes LED, but I'm like, no, do water first. The payback is so fast. And this university will remain known. I said, how many student rooms do you have? And he said, and he thought about it. He said, about 4,500. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, so there's a project going on with them at the moment. But really, really large savings. And I look at somebody like Puma Hotels that's owned by Shore Capital, who's one of the, Shore Capital kind of own large chunks of Marks and Spencer and stuff. They own Puma Hotels in the UK, which is about 20 hotels. You probably know like the Old Ship in Brighton and Ligon Arms and those sort of properties. We did a project with them last year. They did all the measurements, we did all the calculations. They spent £65,000 on this product, taps and showers. And then when we went back to see them, they've got £100,000 off their water bill in 8 months. And being city boys, they went, great, increase the asset value by £1 million because they multiply that saving by 10 into their asset. But I look at that, at £2.50 per cubic metre of water, that's a lot of water that hasn't gone down the drain. So whether you look at it on the money side or whether you look at it on the sustainability and water side, you know, it's a very, very, very interesting proposition. Sadly, CRC, if you're into CRC, you know, carbon tax, all the government stuff, they kind of miss water. What we do though is we calculate the energy used to heat the water, because very rarely will you stand under a cold shower. And therefore, if you look at a hotel, the energy used in gas and the carbon footprint to heat that water and maintain it at 65 degrees C while it goes around the circuit is actually quite substantial. So when we do the proposals, water is the big saving, but there is definitely an energy saving and a carbon footprint reduction when we do that. But again, if you're looking at student accommodations, if you're looking at, I don't know, boys and girls changing rooms in a school, you don't have to go for the £400 rainhead, depending on what school you are. But, you know, these are a tenner, something like that. We are the biggest reseller of them anywhere in the UK, so you can come to the website and buy them yourself. Or you could look at a bigger project if you've got 4,500 kind of student rooms or something. But I would urge everyone to have a look at water. It's one, again, when I walk around here today, that seems to be missing a little bit, where people are kind of seeing that as an oversight. My next no-brainer really is starting to get into the world of LED, and I'm sure everyone in the room has got lots of views on LED. So the world of LED is quite interesting, and LED, again, I'm quite passionate about. I write for Lux magazine, so you know, LED is all about getting the right LED. Put the wrong LED in, and as one of those things said, you could lose your job quite quickly. How many people have done a LED deployment in here? Kind of on a big scale, small scale, internal, external, bit of both? Okay, good experience, bad experience?
Yeah, some of them are often overheating and everything.
Thank you very much. I hope it's the case. So LED is a really interesting technology, really, because actually, when you look at LED, if you look careful your eyes here, LED is actually blue. So when you look at the original LED chips, so that was how kind of LED really started its life. And then what we do is we put a phosphor coating onto it, which basically allows us to change the colour to a white light. Now, this actually is a phosphor breakout technology we're working on. I'm going to turn it off because if I won't be able to see anything. But basically what happens in a normal LED is that chipset was blue. You then put the layers on effectively to create the white light that you want. And then you drive it really, really, really hard to get the light out. And interesting what you say there, sir. So how it normally starts at the bad end of the spectrum is something like that. Okay? Which is really, really good, and we're driving those LEDs. They're very white because of the more layers we put onto the LED to get it warm, was what you actually want in a building. The warmer the chipset gets, and the light diminishes. What happens to that if you leave it on too long? Well, it kind of turns into that, if you're lucky. And that's kind of a lot of people that have bought these LEDs in and basically said, oh, 50,000 hours, it's really, really great. That tends to be where you're at. LED is all about par for course. So in the hotel industry, we've installed LED that's never been turned off in 3 years. Because when would you ever turn off the reception of the Savoy? You don't shut on Christmas Day, you don't shut on any sort of things. That LED is fundamentally different to what you might put into your kitchen at home or something. And even if you pick up Philips, the biggest LED brand in the UK, read the small print, it says 40,000 hours, then it says if on 4 hours a day. And that's all to do with the thermodynamics of what you do. And whatever you do in LED, it's about picking the right product for what you're going to deploy. Now these products, as you know, if you start going down the good end of the market, mind your eyes a little bit, but you know, 50 watt halogen, if you go for this sort of thing, which is the market leader for Philips, which is really good, and you'll see again here, where if I look at this, the heatsink is plastic. If I look at this, it's ceramic, which is dissipating the heat. The reason this has the holes here is to dissipate the heat. This is probably the best MR16 on the market at the moment. If you go and put it straight into a fitting with a 50 watt drive, it will be overdriven and it will get hot, so be very careful if someone comes in and says, oh yeah, you pop it in wherever you go. This one does have Transform Max in, goes in most transformers, but if you look at all of the major hotel groups, they're moving to GU10, so they remove the drivers, MR16 low voltage, and go straight to GU10. At the high end of the market, you've then got things like this. So this is a GaN-on-GaN technology. So this again is in the bulb, breaking the phosphor off of the bulb. So this gives a really nice 10-degree beam angle, which is unheard of in LED. The GaN-on-GaN technology gives 96 CRI, and CRI is the quality of the light that's coming out. And it's a little bit difficult to demonstrate in here. But if you look at, and probably from the back you're not going to see this, but maybe I can prop that on. This is where it explodes. So you can kind of see if you put a normal light on it, can you see that this is the Philips, which is a really good one. You can See how the red looks? If you go to the GAN on GAN, so that's about 85 CRI. If you come up to the 96 CRI, can you see how the reds start to come up? So particularly if you've got older buildings, if you've got fabric, if you've got lounge areas, I'm not quite sure what it would apply to a school, but five-star hotel customers, retail, anywhere next to just deploying this at the moment. Started with LED like energy saving, but actually what it turned into was a buyer going, do you know how many more red tops I could sell if they look like that? And actually that outweighs the savings quite a lot. The other nice thing that's moving in the market for LED, if I can get these apart, is this at the moment is 10 degrees at 3,000 Kelvin, and you will all have gone through the kind of Kelvin range. Now it's 2,700 Kelvin. Now it's square. So what we're starting to do is to break the lenses off of the LED chips. So at the moment, if you go traditionally, you would buy all those different bulbs, and some of you may have done that. You'd probably look down your corridors and they're all slightly different colours. And that's where you kind of buy in the renders. So LED is really interesting. My advice would be, anyone that comes and says 10-year warranty, £3, you've got to be in queue, 3 for £6. All right if you want to put them in your downstairs toilet at home, but if you're doing them commercially and you want to do them properly, make sure you've got the thermodynamics. Make sure you buy, in my view, a brand that's still going to be around to honour that warranty. And the technology change that's happening quite a lot is this breakout of the GAN and GAN type technology, which is allowing very high CRI and allowing us to use the chips warmer because you haven't got those layers on that are causing the chip to fail. This is a fairly obvious one. I mean, all of the major hotel groups have done this. I'm sure you've done a lot of the kind of GU10 type things. If you've got a GU10 on anything more than 12 hours a day, 50 watt or 35 watt, you'll change it out and get a payback in a year. The only thing to be careful of is a lot of the GU10s may have emergency supplies to them, and you can't put the emergency supply straight onto the LED, so you need to break that out and do that separately or do something with that. Next question really is into kind of the more office space. So this is a very interesting one in here. You see some of them outside are the old 600 by 600 modulars that have the 4 tubes in, very popular in office spaces, being replaced by, if I can reach for it, there we go, LED panel. So 600 by 600 LED panel, again, huge amount of these on the market at the moment, ranging anywhere from £40 to £200 depending what you're buying. Things to be careful of here, and you can download it from a site. Be careful what the lens is made of, because if they're made from the cheaper plastic, they don't make the fire rigs, a drip test on fire rigs. So all right if you're putting them in the cleaner's cupboard or somewhere, but if you're putting them in a thoroughfare, fire exit, we've had quite a few customers that said, I bought loads of these, fire officers come in, doesn't pass the drip test, got to take out. What's more interesting for us is what we're doing with the panels at the moment, and we've installed a huge amount of panels, is we put a slightly different driver on the back. And the reason we put this on here is because the driver is then wireless. And what that allows us to do is to put very simple control devices like this. So this is a wireless daylight sensor. So if you're in this building, in this room now, you'd stick that up there. And for the next 10 years, it broadcasts automatically to all of the panels in here, and these are LED panels, I think slightly different renders, and it starts to dim them down when it sees daylight. So actually a panel, normal 600 by 600 grid with 4 tubes in is 72 watts with a little bit of ballast. And good quality panels are going to be somewhere between 38 and 40 watts, so you've got about 50% energy saving there. You change your tubes every 10,000 hours. A good panel should last you 50,000 hours. But put this in and use this new light, which I think is really fantastic, called Daylight, and apparently it's available to everyone and should last even longer than 50,000 hours. You can start to dim those down and control them. And we've got buildings now where we've put them in where, outer runs, they don't dim instantly, they might dim over 20 minutes. You can knock 25% off the consumption and the eye never sees. So when you're thinking about panels and you're thinking about lights, I would really urge you to think about controls. Again, if I jump back maybe to the last one, the biggest player coming into the LED world at the moment is Samsung, and we're working quite closely with them. I ran a mobile phone business many years ago, and I remember sitting around the table, and Samsung were just there when the iPhone was being launched, and they went, we're coming to mobile, and Nokia, who had a 6310. Yeah, Nokia went, no, 80% market share, you won't touch us. 10 years later, Samsung's number 1, and Nokia went bust. They're spending $7 billion on launching their LED chipset, and every single LED, when it comes out at Christmas, will have Zigbee and Bluetooth built in and will connect directly to their tablets and phones, and all of their white goods. So, I've seen demonstrations where the the fridge basically has got a piece of rotten cheese in it on the barcode, and the light comes on in the kitchen going, you've got a bit of rotten food in you. You know, it's at that level. They're connecting the whole thing. What's interesting from our point of view, we can dovetail 80 of them together, and we can control a hotel corridor, or we can a school from your iPhone, where once upon a time it was a £10,000 control system from Lutron. Okay, that's where LED's going. LED is going into controls, into Li-Fi, which is Wi-Fi connectivity in the bulbs. And soon as Samsung do that, dominant player in white goods, dominant player in mobile phones and tablets. Soon as you can start talking to every single bulb, then everything becomes, well, it depends what your viewpoint is, horrible or very exciting. So there's a couple of things on that. Panels, if you're putting panels in, be very careful of the fire regs. As I say, you can download something from our site on that from Lux magazine. Be very careful. Cheap is not best necessarily, particularly if they're in office environments. You'll be amazed how many people put them in, and they actually do have a flicker, even if your eye can't see them. Working on computers, you'll find all your staff have suddenly got headaches and taking days off. So buy carefully would be my view there, and think about controls, because the control is in the driver, not in the panel. The panel's a dumb piece of technology. So, you know, for an extra £10, you can have a controllable driver, and you can start doing really clever things when it comes to energy saving. Our panels, when they're dimmed down with daylight in, sit at 6 watts. You know, and then they come up to 38, nice and slowly, depending on as the clouds go by and bits and pieces. So have a little think about that. It's something you could definitely to look at. Then going up the LED range, so we do a lot of external LEDs. So you've probably got floodlighting bits and pieces. So this is interesting kind of LED technology. So this is array technology. So you can see pretty open. Thermodynamics is actually through the unit. These are a modular one that we do that are built for us, that you just keep putting the modules in until you want to keep going in street lights and downlighters and so on and so forth. Actually, this technology, even, I wouldn't say it's out of date because it's not, but this type of technology is now going to take this away. So we've got a lot of projects at the moment going on where we're taking this technology. 2 of these strips is the equivalent of 6 5-foot T5s. So even trying to replace T5s, which originally was kind of somewhere LED couldn't go because you couldn't get a return really, we're very close now to getting sub-3-year returns on warehouse projects we're doing using this technology. But this one always interests me, and I will point it the other direction, because if you think about where technologies, if you plugged in the right one, if you think about where the technologies come from and gone, you've got this type of thing, 5,000 Kelvin, with the lenses on to throw the lights. This is slightly less than a 60-watt light bulb, as it was. 50,000 hours, so when you think about exterior lighting, you have to be a bit more careful on the payback, because you haven't got 12 hours a day or 24 hours a day unless somebody's left them on, and we walk around lots and see car park lights left on during the day. But the real thing to consider there is the installation cost, because when the bulb goes, you've got a man in a cherry picker, or 2 men in a cherry picker, and all that sort of stuff to go. So we do a lot of car park projects, high bay projects, where actually the real savings are in the labour and the health and safety issues. So that's something that I would urge you to look at. Particularly what we do is a lot of replacement stuff. So we just did a big project for a hotel up at Heathrow, car parks, but it was because 80% of them had gone out. Rather than keep replacing, then that's the time to change and make a step across. So exterior lights is one that definitely is a piece to look at. Then we're going to move away from LEDs. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is intelligence in motors and pumps. And this one gets really dangerous as a trick, so stand by. We've got balloons jumping around. So traditionally in any building, I don't know if it's working very well in here, you have something called air handling units. So up on the roof, you will have very large air handling units, which are electric motors that are just powering very big fans. You'll also have motors that are powering pumps that pump the water around. So when you go and flush the toilet, we put the shower on. At home, you're probably gravity fed, but in a building like this, something's pumping the water around. So if you think about in a hotel or student accommodation or any big building, you've got that going on. And basically, motors are really pretty dumb. So they're either off or they're on. Here we've got motor powering a fan. So I'm powering an air fan here. So you can. It could be doing a water pump circulation, and the way we basically control that is basic with a paddle valve. Very, very simple thing. If you want to have a look in the top here, madam. See how it works. Show everybody know. But I can tell you that. But you can see how the valve works. Yeah, and that's how most motors and pumps change. So if I want to restrict the flow, I basically restrict the flow by opening the paddle. See the turbulence? Closing the paddle. It's and try and get it to go up there. And someone described it to me a little bit. It's like driving a car with your foot flat on the accelerator, and then if you want to go a bit slower, you keep your foot on the brake at the same time. But you can't turn the motor off, because it might be that you now want to go and wash your hands, or we want the air blowing around, so I can't have it on or off. So what we've done there is we've worked with a company called ABB to take their big, what were called inverters, variable speed drives, put a level of intelligence and shrunk them down for smaller motors and pumps. So what we do is, at the moment you can see this one here is running about 156 watts. I'm not lying, am I, sir? Put your hand up, 156 watts. Here's the man that can help, sir. So basically, if we engage the variable speed drive, the first thing you notice, quieter. To prove the flow rate's still the same. Okay? And if you look at the wattage now, you can call it out, sir. 38 watts. Now, more importantly, what we can do is now put a feedback loop into that, depending on demand. So if I've got a hot water system, I can put a feedback into the inverter to say, return temperature 65 degrees Celsius, which it is in a hotel. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can reduce the frequency even further, because I don't need the pump running flat out. At 8 o'clock in the morning, when everyone jumps in the shower, somebody said to me earlier, we are talking about student accommodation here, so let's call it 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Basically, I can turn it back up and put the pressure back up. So what you're doing is putting a level of intelligence into every motor and pump. And I'm actually quite anti-building management systems, because building management systems go, I think I know you come in at 8, and I think I know you go home at 6, and they control the thing like that. We're very big about controlling it on demand. So if there's a lot of demand, and I think the HVAC system in here is struggling, if there's a lot of demand, turn it up. You know, here would be a great example. So in here, there should be a temperature thing, so whoo, it's getting too hot in here, and it should be pulling the motor up now and pumping in more air. So this is a really interesting model for us. As an organisation, we go out and test these products with our customers, and I think I've got one here just to give you a feel if it jumps in. So this, as an organisation, when we do these products, we basically go and look at them effectively, and then we go to one of our customers and we say, can we put this in, and we have a go. So this is the Radisson in Leeds, 200-bedroom hotel. You can see our EcoTrack tracks the data. So here, so this is where we were tracking the motors. So all we've done in the hotel is taken the air handling units and the water circ pumps that run the showers and bits and pieces, and in that case the HVAC, so the system that pumps the coolant around to HVAC. It was using about 300 to 400 kilowatts a day, which is about right. I've got a tiny little motor here because it would be big to lug it in. But typically, 10 to 20 kilowatts a motor, maybe a little bit more. You can see we put the inverters in, 142 kilowatts a day. Okay, no impact on the building at all. You can see the flatter curves. You see it starts to go up a little bit down as we put the circuit in. To put that into context, that's equivalent of turning off 3,000 50-watt G10s. Okay, so I always tell people, LED, 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 just think about with LED. We just talked about water. We now talked about this that can be installed without putting scaffolding inside and all the things that go with it. Something to definitely think about. Even more so if you've got a building that was designed before the smoking ban, your air handling units will be 3 times bigger than they need to be, because they were designed to extract and smoke and pump enough air in for everyone having as many cigarettes as they did. So there's some really interesting opportunities there in older buildings. Typical payback around about a year, maybe a little bit longer than that installed. Has to be installed properly, because actually what's happening here is we're taking the AC voltage in, converting it to DC back to AC 16,000 times a second, and it creates effectively a radio wave. Install it on the cheap and you'll have lots of taxis pulling up outside your property thinking they've been called, because it is basically broadcasting a radio wave. There we go. So that gives you a little kind of feel for some of the things there. Can we get back to the slides? Okay, so that's my no-brainer number 6. Number 7 is around HVAC controls and building controls. So this is an interesting technology, minus the can of Coke, that we've deployed into lots of hotel rooms. It's a company we found in the US. They've installed 250,000 hotel rooms. And their premise, again, was basically let's control the space on what's happening in the space at that point of time. Not a building management system downstairs that says, ooh, that room is checked in, I'll put all the services on. Because if you check into, I'm sure you all stay in the Savoy quite a lot, but if you check into the Savoy, you're very unlikely to say, oh, isn't it lovely, let's sit in the room for 24 hours. You know, a business hotel, you go rushing off down to a conference, everyone does that, I'll see you in the bar at 7 o'clock, and then all stays up later than they planned. You know, or if you're staying in somewhere like London, you're going to go out and see things, you're going to go shopping. So this system basically is a very small little transceiver, it's a little control box that basically sits in the room, and when the room is unoccupied, we take control. So we control the ambient temperature, we turn the HVAC off, we control the lights, we do what we need to do. And unlike normal sensors, it's premised basically on the fact the room is either in occupied or unoccupied mode. So the way that will change, unless you're Spider-Man, is you're coming through the door. So in most cases, if we open the door and close the door, basically, and it's all wireless, it will send a signal basically to the transceiver. Now, people sitting at the back won't be able to hear this, but you can see now it's turned on whatever we've got in the room. So now the room is in occupied mode. You can do what you like. You know, if it's cold, it's hot, you can have the lights on, because if you've paid £3,000 a night for the suite, or you've paid £99 a night, or you're in a meeting room, or you're in a student accommodation, then you're right, you do what you like. If I try and stop you doing what you like, normally you'll find there's some resistance. You know, if you stayed in one of our hotels and with maybe your husband or your wife, and there was a sign saying only one of you can have a shower today because we're trying to cut our energy and water, you'd be like, what's that all about? So it's about taking controls. When you then basically change this thing again, you'll be leaving the room. So if we leave the room, or maybe let's say we open the window. So do we want HVAC on, and when we've got the windows wide open, which happens quite a lot in hotels, we again can control the system. It takes about 20 minutes, 20 seconds to push the push across, and we can shut the system down. We can shut the lights down. We can see it's gone off, those at the back, it's gone off, and we can control that. Close the window again, put it back in. And when it's in off mode, we're holding the ambient. What's very important in the hotel space, and in any space really, what you want to avoid is the kind of key card solutions some of you may have seen. What's the first thing you do with a key card? You put it in and you go, God, it's cold in here or hot in here, and you whack the stat right up or right down. Okay, totally the wrong thing to do for energy consumption, because then all the load is going up massively, and then you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, God, it's hot in here, whack it back down again. And you know, that's really like driving your car, nor 100 mile an hour, nor 100 mile an hour. So this is about taking control of the space, basically, in an individual space. And it's as applicable to hotel rooms, but we just started a little project on meeting rooms, classrooms, all of those sort of spaces. Again, basically putting the automation into the space where the people are. If you look at this, typically in a 24-hour guest stay, we get about 32% savings. So we're looking at 6, 7, 8 hours out of a 24-hour stay where the room is checked in, all the services are on, but the guest isn't there. And if you think about your own hotel behaviour, you probably check in at 5, you go, yep, have a quick shower, see you down the bar at 7, you're out till whenever, you get up in the morning, off you go to the conference again. And we're just taking that downtime. You know, if you look at your own meeting rooms, your classrooms, your things, think about the downtime where that room is, technically we're open, but there's nobody there doing anything. And that's something that you know, we've been looking at. We've done a lot in the hotel space with a lot of data, similar as we tracked. But we think it could be just as interesting for Costa Coffee. You know, we can't afford a big building management system or a small school that says, right, the last cleaner out, this basically works out who's the last person out, but it keeps the building, doesn't let the building get too hot or too cold, because you don't want that. So that's something that we do there. Okay, a couple of last ones. So what does that mean in money? So I thought I'd put a couple of hotel examples up, basically, so that you can kind of see what that means. So Castle Residor, you might not know of, but they're Radisson and Park Inn and Missoni. So this was a couple of slides I stole from them the other day. They're a pretty big organisation, as you can see. You know, and as I said, if you think in the UK, they have about 60 hotels. Each hotel electricity bills somewhere between 30 and 50,000 a month. Water bills, you know, 160, 200 grand a year. Quite big thing. Their utility bills are second biggest cost under staff. So last year we started working with them. We did two things. We did the inverters on the pumps and bits and pieces, and we did the water devices. It was a 92,000 investment. They got 169,000 back in year one. Their measurements, not ours, which is why I left them on their slides. We did LED rollout project last year, which was huge for us. About 6,500 tubes, I think, in the last quarter, LED tubes, and 110,000 GU10s, whatever it might be. But you can see the beginnings of that starting to flow through in year one. So, you know, we always kind of look at this, whether you look at it from a sustainability or a money point of view. You know, we're Save Money, Cut Carbon because we believe actually save the money and the carbon cutting bit comes. You know, and that's really where our start is. It's very, very easy to catch an FD's attention with these sort of numbers. Or a property owner group, or a PFI, or whatever it may be, because it directly affects their profit. This was another one I spoke about, Puma. They've got some fantastic hotels, really lovely buildings, so quite a difficult thing to do with water. I think I mentioned earlier they spent 65,000 on, actually, I think it was a slightly bigger version. It was this one, and the taperators got £104,000 back in 8 months. Their calculations, they pay the bills. So there's some quite substantial numbers out there. And you're talking about, 100 to 200 bedroom hotels. Go to my university with 4,500 student rooms, you think, whoa, major, major impact. I don't know whether this does affect you, it depends where you are, but we do quite a lot with commercial property people and so on and so forth. But this is typically how the build looks like. So if you're paying to rent the building or PFI or you're doing something like that, typically you can see the kind of opportunity costs there, the services and utilities and the rates. We typically look, without knocking the building down and starting again. I mean, we sponsor the European Hotel of the Year award. The Green Hotel of the Year last year was a Savoy, but they shut for 3 years and spent £220 million. If you can't be green with that budget, then God help us all. But retrofit-wise, we look at that we can normally, cut the energy and water by about 50%. Just by doing some of the things that I've spoken about. And you can see then you have a differential effectively of what you can use. If you're in an unlet building, you've basically got a competitive advantage. Now, whether that's letting the building out to another service provider, whether you take that in yield, whether you pass that on that your building's more efficient, whether it just improves your own P&L and you can go and spend that money on more books or more whatever it might be, that's kind of what the premise looks like. So the opportunity really, obviously, it's about compliance. So, those that have got that, you should look at the S49, S43, it's about compliance. I don't know whether this really appeals to you, but if you are making profit, if you are a profitable organisation, you have enhanced capital allowances. So a lot of the work we do with the products have ECA, which is basically you can claim 100% relief back in the first year. So if you're making money and you put an inverter in, or you're making money and you put one of our shower heads in, because we've already done the ECA registration of the product, there's some really interesting financial opportunities there that your finance directors should be able to get their heads round. Reduced maintenance, so whether it be, and I don't want to knock Screwfix because they're massive, but whether it's, at the moment my maintenance guys buy these from Screwfix at £9.99, but in a year's time they're in landfill and I buy another one, you want to go for quality product. You should get a 5x maintenance reduction. And I go right back to the first slide with our maintenance company saying, well, I don't want to do that. We make a lot of money changing these things out. But, typical light bulbs, halogens, 2,000 hours, you should go to 40 or 50,000 hours. Tubes, 10,000 hours, you should go to 50. Externals, you should be able to push, above 50 if you buy the right chipset and the right type of thermodynamics. Reduce risk of poor maintenance work and healthy. The amount of kitchens we've been round where there's tubes hanging from the ceiling, I know we're not meant to, but the cook just balanced on that vegetable crate to change that tube because it was flicking and annoying him. There's a few nodding heads, so we've all kind of seen that. If you do it properly and you do it first time, you remove that. We did a couple of kitchens in a restaurant chain recently, and it's very rare a chef ever comes and pays you a compliment, but he was like, look at my lettuce, it's green again. Typical tubes, LED tubes are, a terrible light. You don't realise LED tubes are a horrible yellow light and they degrade really quickly over their lifespan. So think about that. If you are in the business world, if you like, if you're running your organisation more as a business, you've definitely got higher yields, however you measure that. Which is interesting. You've got market attractiveness if you're trying to let a building, or you've got a building you want to let out, or you want another service provider to come in and use that. You've got CRC, where if that's applicable to you, and CSR targets, future strategies, and I think it's all about moving beyond compliance. I do this talk quite a lot, as some of my guys know. I was alongside the head of estates for Crown Estates in the UK, head of sustainability. It's like, what have you done? We've got 7 committees that meet every month. Yeah, but what have you done? We put some posters on the wall. Yeah, but, and we're really about trying to move people beyond compliance, whether that be big LED projects or this sort of stuff, or it be take away a tap rate today and put it in your kitchen tap at home. So the learnings over our experience, we've kind of learned, automate where possible. Behaviour change is really, really good. Our behaviour change group at the moment is doing some quite interesting stuff. We're giving logins to staff for them to buy for their home. So all Radisson staff can come to our website and buy, but using Radisson's buying power. So instead of paying £15 for a Philips GU10, they'll pay 10. Instead of paying 40 quid for this, they'll pay 20. Because we've got this premise at the moment that if I can affect you at home in your wallet, you will come back to the workplace and go, actually, I know what they're talking about now. Where when you don't see the £50,000 electricity bill, do you really care? And, you'll all seen the don't put your towel in the bath, sticker and the switch this off and don't print unless you have to. But that's a really interesting one for us at the moment with our website. We're creating these logins with sponsorship messages from you as the host saying we're doing that. We're doing it for people like Felixstowe Docks, National Trust, a lot of our staff, customers. So our view is in the workplace, automate it. I love the concept of being able to save energy and water and the person doesn't even know we're doing it. At home, kind of engage, and that would be one of our learnings. Work with products from proven and major brands, especially with LED. There's 100 people saying, look, I've got this from China, I've just set myself up, so on and so forth. You've got to ask, even if they are giving you a 20-year warranty, will they still be around to honour that? So we're partnered with Samsung and Philips and Verbatim, which is Mitsubishi, deliberately because our hotel customers demand a 5-year warranty and they want to demand that if we're not there, and we will be there, the manufacturer is. So, my learnings with LED is I would stick with the big brands unless somebody's got something very, very special. This technology is very special, this GaN-on-GaN technology, so we're the master UK distributor for this, but, it's a massive organisation. It's the doctor from Japan that invented the blue laser. That was the one on Goldfinger that nearly cut him in half. And that's real specialist stuff. But if you're going for mainstream LED, pick a big brand. Beware of the unbelievable warranties. I've sat in front of lots of people and said, yep, I've got a supplier 10 years, it's only £3 for GU10. At that point, I go, thank you very much, goodbye, because, that's not where you want to be if you're doing it properly. Measure your starting point. So whether it be, I showed you EcoTrack, which is one of our kind of tools that we use, or it be something as simple as this bag, measure where you start from. It's very difficult to track where you're going and what you're doing unless you know where you're starting from. And this sort of thing, whether it be at home or whether it be taps in your workplace or showers is a great thing, up to more advanced systems like EcoTrack, which we drop in for a month, broadcast out over the GSM network and can track that lighting circuit, that motor circuit, or whatever it may be. Make sure you do that, because once you do that, you can create really good sound business cases, and no finance director is going to say no to the sort of returns that we've talked about if the variables and the data you've put into the model are sound. Don't forget installation. Lots of people, as I said earlier, buy all the stuff and then basically think, oops, how are we going to put it in? It is a real cost. It needs to be done properly. The amount of LED tubes we sell through our website, and the electrician rings up and says, the first 5 don't work. And it's like, have you read the instructions? Because it's bang, 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 blowing the fuses in them, off they go. Be really, really careful with that. Particularly be careful of emergency lighting. You do a great energy saving thing and then you mess your emergency lighting up and something happens, big liability issues. And emergency lighting is very difficult to do with LED. Pick off low-hanging fruit, like water. LED is the big buzzword at the moment, but it's not always the lowest hanging fruit, and sometimes it's the most difficult thing to do, and it's the most aware. People walk in and go, I don't like that light, that's too bright, I liked it the way it was. You've got a gentleman nodding here. We put these wonderful panels into lots of places. People go, it's too bright now. It's like, well, that's because actually you weren't even getting the lux levels to use a computer, let alone the work you were doing, but people do perceive it in a different way. Put this in behind the scenes and nobody knows. LED often start behind the scenes, don't go to areas where there's dimmers and all those sort of complications. Right product for right purpose. So LED in the store cupboard, go for something cheap if that's what you want to do. Kitchen at home, only 4 hours on off, no problem. If you're putting it in and it's got 24/7 operation, or it's a long way up a pole, make sure you put the right product in for what you're going to do, particularly around thermodynamics, and challenge the manufacturer on the thermodynamics. I've got a warehouse project at the moment that we're putting LED in, and unbeknown to us, but we now know, 40 degrees C in the top of the warehouse. And that fundamentally moves the ambient temperature of which the LED is working in, and will shorten the lifetime hugely. So, now knowing that, we're specifying this type of technology because we can run the chip at a better thermodynamics. Use daylight. My big thing at the moment. So where you can, use daylight. Use auto controls. If you're putting LED in, use daylight as well. If you're going to make that leap to panels, you're going to make that leap to LED tubes, put some automation in and use daylight wherever you can. Learn from other sectors, like hotels and hospitality. I'm hoping that in a year's time we'll have done some stuff with education and someone will be learning from that. But go and talk to other people, get references of people that put the stuff in and the savings. And then I always think a partnership approach. So what I'm most proud about, we did projects for Residor last year for Puma. They've come back in the second year and said, great, what else can we do this year? And it is all about partnerships. I think it's not about someone that wants to sell you an LED tube or sell you something really quick and run. You want someone that's going to go on that journey with you, that will build those models with you. And when it doesn't quite go right, we'll be back there trying to sort it out. And I think that's really, really critical. And there you go. That's the kind of end of my very warm presentation of some of the things that we've done. That sort of stuff.